respected guests and friends, on behalf of Birla Academy of Art and Culture, I extend you all a very happy evening in this evening. And before I start my deliberation, I would like to make two announcements. One is that our academy will organize a recitation workshop on August 30th and September 6, 2014. And the workshop would start from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Those who are interested in joining this workshop may contact our office. The workshop is to be conducted by Sri Robin Majumdar, and he will try to teach pronunciation, modulation, expression of the poems of Tagore, Qazi Nazrul Islam, Shukanta Bhattacharya, and other modern poets. So these workshops are to be held on 30th August and 6th September. This is first announcement, and the second announcement is on 30th July at 6:30 p.m. we are organizing two documentary film shows, and they are on creative artist of India, Satyajit Ray, and another one is called Inner Eye on Vinod Bihari Mukherjee by Satyajit Ray. And we are also having an analytical discussion by Sanjay Mukhopadhyay, Professor of Film Studies, Jadavpur University. So this program is to be held on July 30th at 6 p.m. in this auditorium. If you are interested, you can come. Anybody can come. And all are invited to see these documentaries and hear the analytical discussions from Sanjay Mukhopadhyay. Friends, today I am going to deliver a talk on India's cultural interactions with the Far East, the role of Silk Route. It's a very vast topic, and it has to be squeezed so that it is ended within an hour or quarter of an hour. You can see this map. It is just a map showing the Central Asia as such. It doesn't include Korea or Japan. But my lecture will include discussions on Central Asia and then how it passed on to China, and from China to Korea, and then to Japan. The map shows you a huge desert. It's called Taklamakan Desert. In the oases of these deserts, along the valleys of rivers winding through sands, whenever in ancient part someone made works of irrigational canals, their group grew up highly cultured communities and also a group of middlemen who earned their living from the caravan traffic plying between the classical and Byzantine West on the one hand and the great states of farther Central Asia on the other. The caravan route in Central Asia linked the oasis towns strung out along with northern and southern edges of Taklamakan Desert. Two arcs, as you can see in the map, were reunited in a single route at Tunhuang in Chinese territory and Kashgar close to Pamis. It then crossed Pamis, it goes to Fargana and Sogdiana and went to Iran through Chorasmia. And finally it goes to the world of Byzantine kingdom, and from there through the sea it passes to Rome. So from China to Rome, this route was popularly known in ancient time as the Silk Road. Thanks to Ferdinand von Richthofen, who actually named the route Seidenstraßen, which means Silk Route or the Silk Road. Now, on the northern side of the Silk Road, which begins from China, from a place called Gansu, the road passed through Gobi Desert to Dunhuang, and from Dunhuang oasis, then it is divided into a northern route running through some oasis towns called Hami, Turfan, Karasar, Kucha, Aksu, Tomsuk, and Kashgar, and from Kashgar it went to Samarkand. In the southern road, it passes through Miran, Chechen, Keria, Khotan, Yarkand to Herat, and then it went to Kabul. The history of this area is a tale of bloodshed, of ferocious fighting between different social groups, which includes Iranians, Greeks, Indo-Ossetians, Chinese, Tibetans, and Arabs. The area witnessed fall of empires and kingdoms, destructions and massacres, heterogeneous coalitions for violence and ferocity. Though the route was called Silk Route, the trade was not only for the traffic in silk, but gold, glass, carved gems, and iron were also transmitted from one place to the other. One of the most important commercial good of China, which was of course silk, that became a very catchy word for the routes of the general trade and transport through China and Chinese Central Asia. Also to be seen at the same time, pilgrims from China and Korea on their way to the holy places of Buddhist legend, as well as missionaries from India and Iran, eager to carry good law to the remotest people of Asia. From India, the main route proceeded along the valley of Kabul and reached Hindu Kush mountain through Purushpur or Peshawar and other cities. Beyond Hindu Kush lay the country called Bactria. From this region, three well-known roads led to the Tarim Basin. There was also a much shorter route. It was direct but difficult from Kashmir along with Gilgit and Yashin valleys through Dorkot and Boraghil passes to the last mentioned route in Wakhan Valley. The art and culture of Silk Route first came into limelight in 1894 when Sven Hedin, a Swedish traveler, traveled via Kashgar, went to Yarkand, then visited Khotan, crossed the desert of Taklamakan, and wrote an account, and that account made Chinese Central Asia known all over the world. In 1902, the exploration of Chinese Turkestan was led by the Germans. Indologist A. Krumdwell, the director of Indian Department of Ethnographical Museum, Berlin, led a team and worked at Kocha, Sengim, and Martuk. In 1904, A. von Lecoq explored Kucha, Kumtura, Kizil, and Karashar. At Kizil, many Buddhist caves had been dug, and caves were not given any number, but the caves at Kizil were called in various names, such as a cave of 16 sword bearer, or a rockfall cave, or a cave of the seafarers. Numerous Turfan finds were accumulated in Berlin, and the objects brought to Germany as a result of these Central Asian expeditions are today collected in the Museum of Indian Art in Berlin, with a part of the manuscript collected in the Academy of Sciences in East Berlin. In 1906, with the support of the renowned scholar Sylvain Lévy and Émile Senart, an expedition was sent from France under the leadership of Orientalist Paul Pelliot. Under his leadership, the teams reached Kashgar by the way of Russia and then proceeded to Tumsuk, Kucha and Karasar. Then they went east, passing Turfan and stopped at Tunghuang. The team collected huge number of manuscripts, paintings, clay sculptures, and these finds are now in Paris, collected in the Bibliothèque Nationale and in the Musée Guimet. And there was another expedition which was undertaken in 1902 and 1914 by a number of Japanese monks. And these expeditions were led by Count Otani. He was the abbot of Nishi Hongaji Temple in Kyoto. So the collections which he made are now in the National Museum of Tokyo and also in the Art Museum of Osaka. So this is about the collections, but I should also name another important collector, Sir Orelstein. Sir Orelstein was basically an Hungarian, but he was serving the British government, and he collected huge collections from the southern route. And whatever he collected, he spent years in Central Asia, and Sir Orelstein collected huge materials, and these materials are now divided into two museums. Some of his collections are in the British Museum and some are in the National Museum of India. Now, when I talk about the art of Central Asia and how we passed on to China and then to Korea and finally to Japan, I must tell you that the Buddhism went to Central Asia basically due to some Indian scholars who visited first Central Asia and then went to China. One of the most talented scholars was Kumaryan. He was born in Kashmir. I tell you that in India, perhaps the Buddhist school of Kashmir played the greatest role in the migration of Buddhism and Buddhist art in Central Asia and to China. Now, this Kumaryan was born in Kashmir. He went to Kucha and he married Jiva, a princess of the royal family, and he became the Rajguru of Kucha. After the birth of his son Kumarji, another great stalwart, his mother Jiva became nun, and when Kumarji was 9 years old, he took him to Kashmir again. She helped him to learn Buddhist literature and philosophy under one Buddhist scholar, Bhanudatta. Kumarji, with his mother later on, visited a number of institutions in Central Asia and then finally went to Kucha. When he reached Kucha, In the 4th century AD, there was a fight between the Chinese and the people of Kucha. And the king from China requested Kumarjip to leave Kucha and come to the court of China. He went there because Chinese were powerful. He could not deny the invitation of the Chinese king. And he stayed there for 15 years. And he translated a number of Buddhist texts. And he preached the religion and philosophy of the Buddha. As I told you, many Kashmirian scholars visited China. Their names include Shanghabhuti, Gautama Shangharaksha, Punyatrata, Vimalaksha, Buddhajiva, Dharmamitra, and Dharmayasha. So these scholars between 4th and 5th centuries AD went to China through Central Asia and translated many Buddhist texts and preached Buddhism there. One of these scholars from Kashmir, Gunavarman, he went to Ceylon and preached Buddhism there. But then he was invited from Java. And when he was in Java, again a request came from China that he should visit China. So with the invitation of a group of Chinese monks, Gunavarman went to Nanking, and he is said to have translated many Sanskrit texts into Chinese. So these are the way how Buddhism reached to China. It is not only from Kashmir, but we have a big list of the names of scholars who hail from Madhya Pradesh, Banaras, Ujjaini, Latha country, central India, and also from Bengal and Assam. Many Buddhist scholars went to China between 5th and 6th centuries AD, and they preached Buddhism and Buddhist philosophy to the people of China. But it was not one-sided. Chinese also came from China to India, and one of the greatest name is Tao Nyang, who in the 4th century encouraged many Chinese pilgrims to visit India to learn the true doctrines, correct principles, collect Buddhist texts and sacred relics, and acquire merit by visiting holy places associated with the Buddha. One of the prominent Chinese scholars who visited India on the instigations of Tao Nyang was Fa Hien, a very well-known name in India. He led a mission with 5 monks from China, and he started his pilgrimage in AD 399, and he entered through Kashmir, traveled all over northern India, stayed at Patliputra for 3 years. He also stayed at Tamralipta for 2 years, and he wrote many sutras in Tamralipta and drew many pictures of images. Now it will be astonishing to know that Huayan, when he went back through waterways. And he met a lot of troubles. There was shipwreck, there was storms and everything. His other friends died on the way to China, but Huayan somehow survived. And he went to China and he survived up to the age of 88. In his record, in one place he writes that he could survive because he was blessed by Avalokiteshvara. He writes that Avalokiteshvara is a bodhisattva who saves his votaries from 8 kinds of perils, including shipwreck. And therefore, when he started his journey from China, he carried a small effigy of Avalokiteshvara with him, and it remained with him till his return journey to China. Now, another name which definitely needs to be mentioned here is Huiwen. He left China in 629 and he proceeded towards India through the northern route. His destination was India. He reached Kapisha in 610 AD, and then 630 AD, and then during his stay in India for 14 years, he is said to have visited many places in India, including Nalanda, where he stayed for 2 years, and he learned Yogachar from Shilabhadra. He was honored by Harshavardhan and Bhaskaravarman. He left India in 644 AD with a large number of books and images, and this time he traveled back by southern route. He reached China in 645 AD and he died in 664 AD. His record, C.U. Key, forms an invaluable source of ancient Indian history. He translated 74 different works and he had drawn a number of pictures. He induced many Chinese pilgrims to visit India. Chinese sources inform us that about 60 monks visited India inspired by Huiwen in the 7th century AD. In this connection, I would like to refer one interesting point, that in his record, Huiwen described a cave of Ajanta. And he never visited Ajanta, but he described a cave and the architecture inside the cave and also the sculptures, including that the entrance gate of that cave was flanked by 2 elephants. And this description of a cave by Huiwen goes very near to the description of cave number 28 of Ajanta. And though the 2 elephants are not there, but 2 elephants are there in cave number 16, in front of the gate of 16 still there. So there was a mannerism there, and it should have also been there in the cave number 28. But the thing is this, without going to Ajanta, he described in detail. So he must have heard from someone who visited, and then he recorded this history of Ajanta. Now I will just go through some of the slides. Now I'd like to take you to Central Asia, and I'd like to talk about how the art, especially the Buddhist art of India, migrated to Central Asia. The slide that you are seeing.
Have you got the indicator?
No. It shows a stupa, an image of Avalokiteshvara, an image of Maitreya. And these are just curved on the rock surface at a place very near to Gilgit in Pakistan. It is just on the right side of the Karakoram highway. Such images and the picture of the stupas are often found on the roadside. Perhaps some devotees stayed there for some time and just gave this look to this god. But the way they are shown and their plastic qualities and the ornamentations, including their crowns and other things, remind us about the bronze sculptures which were made in Kashmir in 6th, 7th century AD. So a pilgrim must be, a group of pilgrims must have carved these things on the rock which they were passing when they were going towards Central Asia.
Underneath that, there is an inscription there.
No, there is no inscription. Now this is the colossal Buddha, and it is from Bamiyan. It's a Bamiyan Buddha, and geographically it is within Afghanistan. At present it is no more there. It has been, spoiled by the Talibans, and it is dated 6th century AD. Now, you can see the height. It is 53 feet tall, and this is, nothing but the indications of how the Gandharan art migrated up to Afghanistan. And the image which is carved here are also added with some stucco, especially for the showing of the dresses and the folds of the draperies and other things. So it is a mixture of stone cum stucco, and over the head, I'll say the next slide, there were paintings. Now, this shows that the art of Gandhara extended up to the farthest point of Afghanistan, but Gandhar himself at that moment of time was influenced from the school of Mathura. The monumental sculptures of Buddha images of Mathura were then went to Gandhar, and from Gandhar it went to the Bamia. Now, this is a painting which is painted on the top of the image, and this central one is a Buddha image. It is surrounded by a number of Buddha images, and these paintings of Gandhara origin also. In Gandhara we have some remnants of paintings, especially the paintings which we find in the broken stupas of Hadda. They go very near to that, but the iconography and the gestures and postures and everything were showing that they originally come from the eastern India, and from eastern India to Gandhar, and then from Gandhar to... It's a sort of a mandala, you can say, painted one, and Buddha is shown preaching, surrounded by smaller Buddhas. This has been retrieved from the place, and now this entire thing is in the Kabul Museum. It is dated to 6th century AD.
Stylistically or inscriptional?
Stylistically. Now, if you leave Bamia and proceed towards the east, there is a place called Fondukistan. Fondukistan produced a number of painted images. This is an image of Maitreya, the Bodhisattva, and he is shown here with the blue lotus. Maitreya became very popular in Gandhara, and then it also became very popular in Central Asia and China, including Korea and Japan also. He is called the future Buddha. He is called the Buddha to be, because in Buddhist philosophy, there are 5 kalpas. Each kalpa is consisted of 4,000 years. It is their contention that we have already crossed 4 such kalpas. The 5th kalpa is yet to start, and for 5th kalpa, Maitreya would become a Buddha in course of time. He is now Bodhisattva and is living in Tushita Sharga. He holds always in one of his hands a water pitcher, and on another hand he holds Nagkeshara flowers. It's very easy to identify this god, but the way he stands, Maitreya, you can see the Bhanga, such flexion of the figure is definitely indebted to the classical paintings of Ajanta and Bagh. It is, that thing is still surviving in this particular form. Now, if you see this head, this is in wood, and it was made at a place called Tunsu in the northern route. Tunsu. It is dated in the 6th century AD, and try to see the delineation of the eyes, the heavy lids, the upper lid and the lower part of the eyes, they're heavy, quite heavy, and the urna in the forehead of the Buddha, which should have been a precious stone, which is no more there. These all, are inherited from the Gandharan art. And in Gandhara, you find certain Hellenistic impact. So, this image with such eyes and other things, remind us that they are Hellenic, partially and partially Gandharan, with some Indian touches. The iconography is basically this head, you can see the head, and the Dakshinavarta Kunchita case, the turning of the hairs. These are all typically Indian iconographic features. Now, this is a landscape of Kizil on the northern route. On the northern route, there are many centers, many oasis centers. The merchant used to come from China, and it's a long way. The Taklamakan Desert is about 900 miles in length, and in width it is about 300 miles. So when the merchants used to come, they used to feel tired, so they used to take rests in certain oasis center. So there are now numerous centers, but of these centers, this is the landscape of Kizil. Kizil is the best oasis center which produced huge number of Buddhist art and paintings and terracottas and everything. The picturesque valley of Kizil is set amidst the high mountains of Kucha district in the Xinjiang region of China. The elegant Muzat River eases its way through the valley. The region is now in the People's Republic of China. It has 14 Buddhist caves and has about 800 grottos. Kizil caves are the best than other caves, such as the caves at Kumtura or the caves at Sim. In Kumtura, there are 112 caves, and in Sim there are 53 caves. Kucha was a leading center of Indian culture. Its rulers were called such as Suvarna Purush, Hari Purush, Suvarna Dev. The names suggest that they are Indianized. People of Kucha had great interest in Sanskrit, and the student used to learn the alphabets. At Minway, which is in the west of Kucha, Brahmi fragments in Sanskrit found datable to 2nd century AD. The Kucha caves yielded a number of paintings, and this is a painting which is to be seen in the cave of seafarers. And these paintings are stylistically dated to 500 AD. And this particular painting is to be found in the Museum of Indian Art in Berlin. But what is interesting to note, that though it was painted in Kucha, the swimmers, but the look of the painters remind us the Buddha images of Gandhara. If you look some of the Buddha images of Gandhara, they have this similar hairstyle. And the expressions of the eyes and the iconographic features of these swimmers recall us that they are the near relatives of Indian paintings. Now, in the Kucha, I told you earlier that the caves are named, and this particular cave is named as Cave of the Statues. And here in this painting, Nanda, the cowherd, was painted, and he's standing and he's trying to listen the preachings of the Buddha. It is dated in the 500 AD, and if you look to this particular figure, then you find that bare-bodied this man standing in a very Indian manner. And the idea of volume conveyed by powerful drawing, the Indian technique of shading with varying pigments are also noticed in this particular painting. Such a painting always reminds that they must be related somewhere to the Indian art. And this one is shown seated Vajrapani, another Bodhisattva. It is in the same cave of the statues in Kizil, dated 500 AD. And if you look some of the sculptural reliefs at Gandhar, where you find Buddha with certain bodhisattvas, including the image of Vajrapani, then you find the shape of Vajra is the same as you see from the relief at Gandhara. And the way he sits on the Singhasan and the way he looks in three-quarter profile, everything goes very near to the Indian painting of the earlier period. Now, this is a dance sequence. It's very rare, although in Central Asia, but in the treasure cave of Kizil, one could get this painting. It is in the cave number 83. It's called the treasure cave, and it is said that a queen is dancing. Her name is Chandraprabha. And this dancing posture of queen reminds one of the graceful dancing figures of Amaravati and Nagarjunikonda. And perhaps some influence reached from the Andhra Pradesh to this particular area, and she looks typically an Indian dancer. This is a close-up of a big paintings, wall paintings, and this was actually a scene of Mahaparinirvana of Buddha, the great demise of the master, in which Mahakashyapa was present. This is a close-up of the head and bust of Mahakashyapa, and it is painted in a cave called the cave above the largest cave. It is dated in the 7th century AD, and you must be knowing the background story of this Mahanirvana scene, because Mahaparinirvana scene, when Buddha died at Kushinagara, his body was, according to his last wish, was put on a funeral pyre, and then the devotees tried to lit it up, but they could not. They tried many times, but they could not. Because at that moment, Mahakashyapa was not there present. He was far away. And when Mahakashyapa reached the area of cremation, then they could fire the log. So Mahakashyapa is shown here is very sad, but he is just but his painting, in his painting, there are some interesting things. In Kizil, you will find that this was the period. It is a period, it's about 7th century AD, when they could not get much lapis lazuli. So they, did not use lapis lazuli, and this green is the sky green they used, because the supply of lapis lazuli was stopped somehow or other in this area, as the Chinese text inform us.
The blue color is coming from?
See?
The blue color?
Now, this is also an interesting detail of a monk called Drona. It is painted with Buddhist relic in a ball in his hand. It is in the cave number 220, 1954 at Kizel. It is now collected in the National Museum of Tokyo. And we know that after the cremation, there was a fight among the peoples of 8 different places. Everybody wanted that the relics should be given over to them. And with the relics of the Buddha, there was about to start a civil war. So this monk, learned monk, he intervened and he said, the man who fought throughout his life for peace and non-violence, and you are now going to start war with his relics. It's not good. So he came forward and he said, let me divide the relics into 8 equal parts, and I will give each part to one group of the people. So he divided the relics, because after the cremation of the Buddha, 2 collarbones were found, 1 bone from the Vishnu was found, and 4 canine teeth were found. These were actually divided into 8 equal parts and given to the people of 8 republics who came to claim the entire relics. And he is holding a bowl full of relics. But his look does not give us the idea that a man, this monk, is hailing from India or from Gandhar or from some. In his look, we find something typically Central Asian features, and some people find in this particular form the influence of Sogdian people and some influences of the China. So he does belong to India, but the theme was popular and therefore it was painted in Central Asia. Now, this is another interesting narrative in Kizel, in camp number 188. Here Buddha is shown meditating, and Devdatta was seen throwing a huge boulder on him to kill him. In Central Asian art, Devdatta has been, presented in various ways. He is shown there, letting loose a mad elephant at Rajagriha to kill Buddha. He was also shown as a evil-minded monkey in the Mahakapi Jatak. That is also painted in Kizel. So Kizel has shown Devdatta in various ways, but here he is shown as a human being throwing a boulder, stone, towards the Buddha who is engaged in preaching. But what happened, as per the narrative of Central Asia, Kumbhira, the god of mountain, intervened, and he tried to stop the stone falling on the Buddha. He could stop it, but the stone fell on the toe of the Buddha and it bled. So that is the story which has been painted here in Kizel. This is Devdatta throwing boulder on meditating Buddha. Now we would like to pass on to the southern route of the In the southern route, there are again many centers, but the best and most popular center was Khotan. Khotan was colonized by the Indians. Kushtana, son of Ashoka, is said to have founded the royal dynasty of Khotan. Buddhism was introduced into Khotan in the 5th regnal year of Vijitasambhava, another ruler. Its last ruler, Vijitadharma, adopted Buddhism and retired to Kashgar. A Khotanese inscription refers a king as Maharaja, Rajati Raja, Deva, Vijitashingha. So this sort of, this sort of reference is, we have already seen in the Kushan art. And this is the place Khotan which yielded a number of coins which has Chinese legend on the obverse and the prakrit in the reverse with Khorosti character. The monastery called Gomoti Bihar at Khotan was the biggest center of learning in Central Asia. Many Indian scholars lived there, and many Chinese pilgrims, instead of coming to India, stayed back at Khotan. The larger school of Khotan centered round the monasteries of Rawak, Dandan, Vilik,